is the Get Started video for the STONEPOINT Asymmetric Scallop top. This will be the Get Started for all sizes, and this is to go over the taper decrease and taper increase. Okay, so I'm going to read from the patterns so that we can kind of follow along together. Now, I chained 15. I chained 15, and it doesn't matter how many you chain. Most of my tops are done in this method, and it matters what you do at the top and the bottom, and sometimes the stitch count. So, and as, let's see, so you will measure, you will be using this measurement because we're going to be building vertically, we're going to be crocheting vertically this way. If you have any questions, or maybe you're a beginner or intermediate, go to the videos on the STONEPOINT scoop top, and that's just a good way to get used to doing this, and that works for all beginners. So if you're finding that this is a little too hard, just go to the scoop top, do some of that, and you'll be fine. You'll be ready to go. Okay, so I chain 15 because it's not going to matter. So it's not going to matter how many you chain. It still works exactly the same. Now this is an 8 hook, and so you front loop half double crochet in the second stitch from the hook, or no, yeah, front loop half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. I'm sorry. So we have 1, 2, the second chain from the hook. This is the front loop, back loop, and then down here is the bottom loop. We're just going to, I'm sorry. Now this counts as one stitch, this turning chain here. This here counts as one stitch, and it's a little small on purpose. Anyhow, we're going to do a half double crochet in each front loop, and we're going to go all the way down. So pay special your directions that are important for how to make this top have a deep V in the neck, and there will be no sewing, so we aren't making this in pieces and then sewing it together. There's going to be no sewing at all. You're going to like how this is done, and go and pay attention to what you do at the top and what you do at the bottom. Okay. So this is row 1, as probably everybody would guess. Sorry, my yarn is giving me a problem. I've got to move it. Okay, here we are. This will be row 1, and oops, there's really not much to see, so I'm going to just get this down to the bottom real quick. I should have just done 10 stitches, but I don't know why I did 15. Anyhow, so truck along with this and don't give up, because I like making videos. I'm excited about this top, and I will help you all along the way. So front loop half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. This is row 1. So this top tail will be your beginning. And this will actually be up on your shoulder. Let me show you. This is the good part about this, is I can just do these goofy things. Okay, we're going to be, here's your armpit. Okay, this will be, sorry, this isn't in frame. This will be starting here at your shoulder. Okay, and then it's going to V down, and then it's going to V down on this side, and then it's going to begin to increase up, but it's still going to continue to V down on that side because it's an asymmetrical top. So this all front part is in one piece. In fact, the whole thing you won't really be cutting and changing too much. So anyhow, that's how that works. Let me see. Let's make sure I'm doing exactly, making sure I can explain. Now, this, we are now at the neckline, and it tells you on there that you're in the neckline. And the front loops of the beginning chain at the neckline of the bodice. You will now be at the neckline. Okay. So we're now at the neckline. I do need to make a correction. I will make that on the pattern because the pattern hasn't been published yet. I would like you to crochet in both loops of this final stitch here. Half double crochet in that. I'll make the correction on here for you guys. See, this is why it doesn't matter a ton, but I like the ends of this garment. Almost everything is going to be in the front loop, but at the bottom and top, I'd like you to work in both loops to make sure, that way you can make sure and it doesn't stretch out too much. It's not too loose at the top. Okay, so I'll make that note. Both loops. Okay, so now here's the tricky part. It's not really tricky. We're going to turn it over. We're not chaining. We're not doing a turning chain. We're going to turn it over. We're going to wrap the yarn, and we're going to immediately, we're going to half double crochet in the front loop. And so now this counts, I'm going to take this out. This counts as one stitch right here. So when you're counting, this is one stitch. There won't be a lot of stitch counting in this, but when you go back up, I don't want you going past it and accidentally gaining a stitch. So what I did to make sure that I didn't do that is, as soon as I got done making that final stitch, or making the next one, I just slipped, so you know that this is just one stitch here, and when you count, this all right here is one stitch. This isn't two. So to make sure I didn't go past it, I only crocheted in it as one stitch. I just put a stitch marker in here, and then I'll move the stitch marker down with me. So, and it says it in here, place a stitch marker here, that it counts as one stitch. And now we're starting to taper down for the top of the neckline, and we're going to start tapering, increasing down here. So this is a taper decrease, and this is going to be a taper increase. So just front loop, half double crochet down to the final stitch. And I know that there's other ways to do this, but please, those of you who are more experienced, please bear with me and do it this way, simply because I need this. This is a thick, this is a 4-weight cotton, and I don't want it to be too bulky at the neckline or at the bottom. I want it to lay nice and flat. So I'm going to crochet quickly down here to the bottom. I should have done it quicker. Okay, now we're down to the last 2 stitches, and just make sure this turning chain is a little funky, but just make sure in the very bottom, this is where we're on row 1, 2. This is row 3 on the very bottom, and you can skip this turning chain if you want. It doesn't matter. Whatever stitch count this is what you're going to have for the first quarter, half of the first front and half of the back. So let me finish this row, and then I will just double explain this just to make sure. So I'm just ignoring this because it doesn't matter. This is going to give us our stitch count. And we aren't maintaining it. We're just going to be matching the front and the back. So in the very bottom stitch, we are going to put 2 half double crochets in the very bottom stitch. Now, this adds on one every row. In the plus sizes, we're only putting one in the bottom. So we are only going to be increasing by one stitch every other row in the plus sizes. But we're going to pretend that this is a small, medium, or large. So then we want to chain 2, turn it over, and see this, we're gonna half double crochet in the front loop of the same stitch as the beginning chain. So this is a stitch you would normally go in. We're going to half double crochet in the front loop of that one. And the reason we're doing that is that's a way to smoothly add, without extra bulk, add another stitch to that, increase that row by a stitch. So like I said, I will be doing the second part, which will make sense for the plus size, but this is how the small, medium, and large start off. They start off with a steep slope by increasing at the bottom, every taper increase at the bottom every row, or this one does, and then it will only increase every other row. Now the plus size only increases at the bottom every other row. Because I mean, you don't want the long side way down to your knee or anything. You just want that nice angle in there that is flattering on all figures. Now, when we get up to here, just so we go far enough but not too far, blah, 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 we're going to go, this isn't our last stitch, this is our last stitch. Okay, we're going to go half double crochet in this loop, and then we're going to go into both loops of this top stitch. And then go into both loops, okay, and then turn, and then immediately half double crochet. There's no turning chain into this first stitch, because this one's the same one as your hook. But if it says the second stitch from the hook, this would be the second stitch from the hook, or first stitch from the hook is the same as the turning chain, but there's no turning chain here. So we're going to immediately go into this one. And remember, this whole thing right here is one stitch. So find the top of that stitch, because it also gets rolled over, and I need it to stay nice and flat so that we have a good, not bulky neckline. So make sure and move your marker so that you hit it right every time. If you move your marker, you won't ever get your stitches wrong. So I just was finding that it was taking extra concentration. Now I'm just going to move down to the bottom, extra concentration to do it that way. And I didn't want to continue to mess that up or have to take out a row. So it just prevents you from doing that. You're only going to be doing that for a quarter, half of the garment, only at the top in half of it. That's all you're going to be doing, and it's kind of nice. Okay, so we got to come down here and we've got to find that turning chain. So here's the top of our turning chain right here. And Brenda actually puts a marker in this one also. So maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. I'm not sure if it is, but we'll try it. Brenda puts a marker in here also. So we're still going in the front loop of this one, and we're going to put 2 in both loops of the very end. Okay. For the plus size, you would only put 1 in this last stitch. For the regular, the small, medium, and large, you put 2 in, because we've got to do a more dramatic increase. So we're going to chain 2, turn it over, and then remember, we're not going in the normal one. We're going into the same one as your chain. And we're just going to do a front loop, half double crochet in that. And if you want to move your marker to this one to mark that, when you come back down, you can. It's going to be around 50 stitches. Okay, so here we are. And you see how this is increasing very quickly. It's decreasing by 1 stitch every time and increasing by 1 stitch here. And then, so this is right here. This is what we're doing. And I'm going to do one more row. All even rows will end at the bottom, and then we'll make a chain. So I'm going to do 2 more rows and move the marker, and I'll meet you there. Okay. Now all row counts and measurements you're given will begin at the bottom, the next section. So we have finished the first half of the front. Oops, sorry, the first half of the front of the bodice. Now we will end at the bottom, and then we're going to do the second half of the front of the bodice. Okay, and I will double check those directions since I found one tiny little kind of dead matter error. So since we're at the bottom, now we're changing directions. We are going to now begin, let's see, this is going to begin to get bigger, as you can see in this, get bigger on both ends. So that part's easy. Actually, the taper decrease I think is harder. This part is much easier. And we're going to begin for the small, medium, and large, making it slope less drastically. So we front loop half double crochet, we chain 2, front loop half double crochet in the first stitch from the hook. It's the same as our chaining one. So this is just a normal, we're increasing just normal now. And we crochet up to the top. And this is the only, when we get up to the top, we're going to front loop half double crochet up to the top, up here, and I will meet you there. Okay, I'm almost to the top. Now, this is, you're going to leave this marker here. This is going to help you with your neckline. You're not going to be moving this marker anymore once you go to the second half of the front of the bodice. So we're going to half double crochet. Now when we get here, we're going to go in both loops just like we would, but we're going to start to increase drastically. And how we do that is just like we did at the bottom. It's the same thing. So we're going to half double crochet, 2 half double crochets in both loops of the top. And I'm sorry, I just took that out so that you guys can see, but then if you have to take it out, your marker needs to stay right there so that you can easily find your center point. So I put 2 half double crochets, and now this is going to increase drastically. Increase every row up here, but it's only going to increase every other row at the bottom. So you chain 2, and then you half double crochet in the very first stitch from your hook, which is the same stitch as a turning chain. And then you crochet down at the bottom, and I will meet you there. Okay, now here's where we're at the bottom. See, bottom and top. And you always know that this is the top and the neckline because your very beginning is right there. And so when you get to the bottom, you're going, and it says it on the pattern, we're going to slope more gradually now at the bottom. We're only going to increase every other row at the bottom. So we're just going to put 1, this doesn't increase it, we're just going to put 1 half double crochet in both loops. This doesn't increase this at the bottom. This is the part where this adds a stitch. So we're only adding a stitch every other row by putting a half double crochet in the same stitch as a turning chain. And so that makes it lay flat and not be bulky. Now, if you have to change yarns, you know, one solid color on this and a light color is, I think, real pretty. This is easy because it works vertically. You can make vertical stripes in it if you want. But it's also a little more forgiving if you crochet unevenly or something. It's a little more forgiving in some of the areas like the shoulders and stuff if it's all one color. So, and then also pay close attention to the sizing. This shrinks an entire size when it's washed if you use 100% cotton. And so keep that in mind. If say your bust measures 40 or 42, and that could be a large or an extra large for the size chart, do the extra large. So just this is supposed to be big or loose, and it's supposed to hang straight down. It's not supposed to. Now here we're going to increase drastically. So this is where we do 2 in the last stitch, and then we also turn it and crochet in both stitches. Now be careful when you get to this part, this turning chain. Mine always collapses on me, so if you put a marker there, don't move this marker. You're going to need it for later. This is where we put 2 of them, but make sure you pay careful attention. Sometimes it doesn't matter where you insert your hook, but this one it does. Pay close attention. And I know this looks gappy. It really won't be. It condenses down. It's a loose knit, but since it shrinks, that's good. And this is good to have these little gaps right here. Those are going to be good. Okay, so we put 2 in this one because we're at the top, and it's very clear on the instructions. We're going to chain 2, turn it over, and we're going to half double crochet in the same loop, or in the same stitch as. Now you can go if you want, but it is not necessary. I found that it looks the same both ways. You can go in both loops, but only this first stitch. Do it. That's the only optional thing on here for you advanced people. If you like this a little better, do it. I didn't find that it mattered. In fact, because the neckline is a deep V that is laced up, it actually lays. Maybe I like it a little better if it's a little more loose there. So you do now. Here we are. So this is how you get started. Okay, so this decreases every row up here. This increases every row up here, and this increases, I'm sorry guys, that was a good close-up. This increases every row here drastically for small and medium, and then starts a gradual decrease on the second half of the front of the bodice, and that's where we're at. Now, however many, and it will say right in there how many rows to do, but however many rows you do for this first section, you need to do the same amount of rows for this next one. So you will have to count your rows the first time, and then make sure this is the exact same amount of rows, because that will matter. So that gives you a good idea on how to get started. I'm going to pause it and get ready to show you the armhole and the back side. Okay, I've done an even amount of rows. I've done the same amount of rows on this side as this side. You will end up in the bottom because you're always going to be instructed to do an even amount of rows. Now, in the video, okay, leave this here. This is your center, and it doesn't quite look like it right now, but that's okay. If you need to change yarns, if you need to add on yarn, whatever you got to do it at the bottom, not at the neckline. Okay, so the next part is just as it says in the picture. You're going to cut and tie your yarn. Oops, I'm sorry, I don't know why this isn't getting in the photo. Okay, you're going to cut and tie your yarn down here, just like the picture says, or just like it says, and there are pictures to guide you to that. Now normally we would continue around, but I found it doesn't work as fancy as I decided to make this. So it says cut your yarn, and it says go over to the bottom of your beginning chain. So remember, here's where you began, and here's the bottom. of your beginning chain. This is the beginning chain. There isn't another one. So that hopefully that won't be too confusing. Now we're going to make an armhole, and there will be measurements on how many stitches. Okay, it will tell you how many stitches for the armhole. So what you're going to do is you're going to look on your chart and see how many stitches for the armhole. Okay, mine is 20. All right, so it's how many you're going to leave open. So you're going to count from the top, and you're going to count down from the top down 20, put a marker. Okay? Then you're going to do the same thing over here. You're going to count down 20, and we're going to say it's the same, and put a marker. Okay? Do that and leave those markers there. Actually, they might be the same, I don't know. But you do have to count, and you do have to be exact. Okay, and how I want you to attach the yarn is I'm having you do it this way the whole time. Make a square knot, and I know this is elementary, but please do it this way just because it will keep everything flatter and lighter. And then pull through a loop and do it that way so we don't have too much bulk. The other ways are a little bulkier than I'd like them to be. Okay, and then we're going to chain 2. We're going to turn it over, and then we're going to half double crochet, front half double crochet, all the way to our marker. Okay, and there's really not much to see. This is just normal. Now we're not increasing yet, but the very next row we are going to. Okay, so we're going to match this side. All right, I'm just going to keep going so you can see. I think that's the best way to do this because, let me move camera a little bit. I'm going to do it so you can see it the best way because it's already explained and there's already pictures. Okay, now this is, okay, right here is a stitch before your marker. Okay, can you see that? Right here's a stitch. Here's still one left to do a half double crochet in. Do that one, a front loop. Now in the stitch right before your marker, I want you to go in both loops. Go in both loops. This is where your armpit is going to be, so I need that to be in both loops so it's reinforced. And then it's going to tell you how much to chain plus 1. Whatever this was, say this was, say this was 20. We're leaving this open. Say this was 20. Whatever that was, chain that plus 1. I don't know how many. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, we're just going to say we did that plus 1. And then you're going to turn it over, and just like your beginning chain, you're going to go do a half double crochet. Well, this one's going to be in the third. A half double crochet in the third. Let me pause this and double check. Okay, yes, it is. It's exactly like the one you were going to go in the. Here's the first one from the hook, second one from the hook, and we're going to half double crochet in the front loop down the chain. Now, it says this, and it's not a mistake. I wanted to make sure no one thought it was a mistake. But before the last stitch, oops, sorry, this is in the way. Okay, let me get this out of the way. Sorry about that, guys. I am an amateur. All right, the last stitch before the marker, still in the chain, and I'll give you a good close look at this. Okay, now look, we have, this is where the arm opening is going to be. I'm left-handed, so this is a little bit trickier for me. This is where the arm opening is going to be. All right, and when I say, and it stays open, we're going to leave this open. This is going to stay open like this until we do the neckline, and then we're going to join it. So I really want this to be left open. Okay, so when you get to the stitch before the marker, when you get to the very last stitch of the chain, which would be right here, do you see how there's no more of the chain left? Then I would like you to half double crochet in both loops, right there, and in both loops, the one on the bottom, because you're going to crochet down the bodice now, both loops, just right there to reinforce the armpit. No one's going to see that stitch change, and we want it reinforced. And I'm going to make sure that there are no idiosyncrasies in here. And yeah, and front half, yeah, okay. And so then we're going to, after we front loop half double crochet down at the bottom, this is exactly the same. We need to count our stitches on this next row. This is going to be, this is row 2. This will be row 2 of, it says armhole / back bodice. So you are going to, I'm sorry, I'm going to double check. Okay, now this is where you want to do, we're only going to do one in this one right now. This is the only one that doesn't have much of an increase or decrease yet, but do go into both loops of the turning chain at the very bottom and do 1 half double crochet. You're going to chain 2, and then we're going to begin matching what this is doing on the bottom. So we're going to now, oh, I'm sorry, before this, I'd like you to count your stitches. So this will count 1, 2, count your stitches, and it'll tell you where to write them down. But this stitch count needs to match this stitch count right here. It'll say 3rd row, write down your stitch count. So whatever your 3rd row is of where you began, see, this is where you began, right here. Where your 3rd row is of where you began, that's where you're going to need to make sure that this stitch count matches up. So you are going to half double crochet because we're going to be increasing on the bottom just like we did the front. So we're going to be doing exactly on the bottom what we did on the front from here on out. But we need to make sure that stitch count is the same. You don't have to count every row, but you've got to do some stitch count check-ins, because what's going to happen later on is we're going to be bringing this side over. We're going to be building, oops, this is the back. So we're going to be building this side just like this one, and then we're going to be joining over here. So they have to be the same stitch count. So that's the reason you need to do some check-ins. You don't have to count while you're going, but you've got to check your stitch count here and there. And then this is just exactly like it says and exactly like you did on the front. You're going to need a marker, because this is where you want to start putting your marker in whenever you turn. Oops, I'm sorry, right here. Oh boy, rough one, guys. Whenever you turn, we've got a bunch of construction going on, and it's just a lot of distractions. So, okay. So whenever you turn without chaining, which is what we're going to do here, and turn without chaining, this is where you start to mark this stitch. And so that means this stitch right here is going to need marked. So you know to go in both loops of that, and you know not to go any further than that. Don't forget to mark that stitch, and then we're going to move it over and leave it right in the dead center. We're going to do exactly what we did on this side. Going to do the exact same thing, and that's your get started video. Good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.